Before I get into this video, just remember to follow me on Twitter. People keep telling me I should plug my Twitter more, so yeah, check that out, at Jackson Kruger. The link is in the description, but anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. Okay, let's talk some offensive line, some Cleveland Browns offensive line, because this is a legitimately awesome offensive line. It really is. It's one of the best, in my opinion, it's the best offensive line in football, and it's one of the better offensive lines we've ever seen. I mean, you can make an argument that each of these guys is a top 5 player at their position, with the exception of Wills, but Wills is a good rookie left tackle and had a good year last year. So as a whole, this is a team that, their offensive line is awesome, and I thought it could be fun to just sort of break down a play of each of these guys and just show how dominant they can be. So we'll start off with this one. We'll talk about Wills. We'll go left to right. Jedrick Wills, he's a left tackle. Typically, your best tackle is your left tackle. Not for Cleveland. Cleveland, their best tackle is their right tackle. But Wills showed some real flashes last year as a rookie. You expect him to get better going into year 2, and he's already pretty good. This is a good example of kind of some of the stuff he was able to do going up against Montez Sweat of the Washington football team. So going up against a pretty good player, but watch what's going to happen. Right when this play starts, you're going to see Sweat do what we've seen Sweat do a million times, which is use his long reach, because he is very big, to, kind of get that initial first contact, which it's really difficult to come back as a tackle if the, edge rusher you're going up against does get that first contact. But watch Will just kind of hold on, not really with any good hand placement whatsoever, just, kind of being strong and being a tough guy to push over. That's an interesting play to me. It's not the most highlight reel level play you'll ever see, but it's always impressive to me when a tackle can, be in a situation where maybe it doesn't look like they're in the best spot and still be pretty good. Wills was great in pass blocking. You could argue his run blocking could improve a little, but at the same time, he is a left tackle. His main role is to help, pass block, and he's done a great job at that. Next up, we have Joel Bitonio, and this will be an example of some of the stuff he can do. Really good guard, can do it all. He can pass block, he can run block, so he's the guy, again, most of these guys can do everything. He is one of those guys where watch what he's going to do on this play. So right when this play starts, you notice how he gets really his left arm right there and kind of gets it to Daron Payne. That's the defensive tackle he's going up against. Gets it on his sort of like left side of his body right here. And what I feel like is going to be so impressive about this play is how you're going to see him kind of just hold on this entire time. Watch just how long he just holds on with Payne until eventually Mayfield decides to scramble out and throw the ball. Actually gets a completion there. Pretty good play from Mayfield on top of that, but also a really good block by Bitonio. And again, he's someone who he can pass block, he can run block. So I showed a pass block example. I wouldn't have had to look too long to find a run block example, because he's great at those too. Next up, we have JC Tretter, the center. So, I feel like centers don't often get a lot of love, but they're important. And I do feel like he is someone who, again, he's another guy where there's a lot he does well. And I think that we'll talk about Wyatt Teller in a second, but a big reason why Wyatt Teller is able to have so much success is because he has 2 great players next to him, and Tretter's one of those guys. He also helps out Bitonio, not that he needs help. But anyways, this is going to be a run blocking example of watch what he can do. Look at how quick he gets his hands in the right position where he's able to make that block. It's, it looks easy, and it kind of was, but at the same time, the fact that he could get his hands in position so quickly is a lot easier said than done when you're a center, because again, you have to snap the ball and then get your hands up. It's just a little bit longer of a process than everyone else who can just put their hands wherever they want pre-snap. So just that alone, it's not so easy to do, but he can do it very well. I believe Pro Football Focus has him graded as their 2nd best center in football, so he's right up there. He's very good. I personally had him rated as my 3rd favorite center in football, just behind Lindsley and Hudson. So, he's a dominant center. There's no doubt about it. and I do feel like that helps out someone like Wyatt Teller. Let's talk about Wyatt Teller. So this will be the play I will use. You know, it's interesting with Wyatt Teller, I think, because he is someone who he was not necessarily a big deal, and now all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere and has an incredible season. And I think there's a couple main things. The first of which is that I think the biggest criticism with Teller was that he was never the best pass blocker. He was always a good run blocker. The pass blocking was an issue. And A, I feel like he's just gotten better at run blocking. But B, he's really only had issues when he doesn't have a ton of, when there's too much space for him to cover. His footwork, I'm going to be honest, isn't incredible, and we've still seen him get burned a couple of times because of that. Like, I remember he gave up a sack in the Texans game. I think it was like on a Zach Cunningham blitz, if my memory serves me correctly, because of a move, but he had a lot of space. However, basically, when Teller has Conklin next to him and Tretter next to him, that situation is never happening, and then you can just let him thrive with his great run blocking, and this is going to be an example of that. I mean, watch him really just completely take 91 out of the play on this one, which creates a big run. So again, he's a really good run blocker. He does that consistently. He wins his run blocking basically every time. Basically every play, he's winning his run blocking. Now, again, pass blocking, it's not awful, and it's actually pretty good as long as there's not a ton of space. And so kind of my thing is, maybe in a vacuum, you could talk about some other guards being better, sure, but I want to know what you're good at, and he's great at certain stuff that fits this team really well, so who really cares if he's bad at something that would only impact him if he was on a different team? I'm fine with that. And finally, Jack Conklin, right tackle. He's very good. He was kind of an underrated signing last offseason, getting a guy like Conklin to, fill out this offensive line, because let's not forget, 2 years ago, it was bad. I mean, they completely turned it from a weakness to an incredible strength, and a big part of that is Conklin. On this play, it's going to be a running play. He kind of just, he's lined up with a defensive tackle, but he's kind of just going to, bump him a little bit and then get up to block a linebacker. Also, clarification, it's a defensive end in a 3-4, but, similar thing. Anyways, watch what he's going to do. So first off, I mean, he just seamlessly gets over there. And again, he's another guy where he can pass block and he can run block. He was a big part of the Tennessee Titans when they had their playoff run where they won multiple games to get to the AFC Championship game. Part of it was because of Conklin. Absolutely. And then watch how he's able to sort of hold on right here, even though the linebacker who he was blocking tried to get to the inside a little bit. It did not work out. Conklin was able to stay with him. So again, you have 5 guys where they're all awesome players. I mean, I think they have to be considered as the best offensive line in football. I really do. I mean, you can maybe, think about some other teams like the New England Patriots, the New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or the Colts perhaps, but all of those teams have some sort of question mark, right? The Colts, how healthy is Eric Fisher? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have a few guys that aren't the best. They have a couple that are really good, and then I'd say a little bit, Smith, Kappa, Jensen, neither of those guys are like incredible. They're all good, but not incredible. The Saints, sort of that guard position, kind of the interior offensive line, there's some questions, even though their tackles are so good. And then you have the New England Patriots, who, again, you could argue that they're better, but with, Wynn, who's had injury history, Trent Brown, who's had some, injury history, I would definitely say that the Cleveland Browns are the safer bet there, and they might even be better when healthy. So, ton to like. I think they're the best offensive line in football. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.